What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and Bobby's going to be joining us in hopefully a few minutes. We're going to talk about the two MLB slates that we're going to talk about both MLB slates, and that's pretty much all we have going on today. The U.S. Open is actually playing out today, but nothing to preview. I want to take a look and see what type of other stuff we have going on. But before, I may as well brag about something, right? So that's part of what we do, right? We brag about results. So let's fire it up here. Here it comes. I talked about this live last night. We did participate in the takedown of the LCK 4-game slate. Good for us. And again, like I said, something's going to have to pay for this golf, okay? Because golf is going to be, it's already threatening to be a train wreck. I shouldn't say that. I just watched Colin Morikawa put in a triple bogey, I think. No, it was a double on a par 3. That's always fun. But it looks as though the course is playing kind of rough for everybody, so we'll just see what ends up happening. As far as MLB last night, it was very, very, the results were very poor for me. That's the way it goes. Poor in the afternoon as well, so it was a bad day MLB-wise. And I didn't do well in the NBA showdown slate either, so we're going to try to put all that behind us, and that's one of the cool things about calling it daily fantasy, is we're on to the next day. What is going on in the U.S. Open before I kind of get moving here? So Matt, of course, Patrick Cantlay, the guy I picked to miss the cut, is -3. Oh, wrong Molinari, I guess. So my under 5K guy, 6K. I think I picked the other Molinari. The Eduardo Molinari is -2. Matthew Pavon, who I don't think I have in a single lineup, has the chip lead, so to speak. But there's definitely a long way to go. Tiger started off the day -1, and then it's a tough course. It just is. It's very difficult. All these guys under par playing really, really well. And Justin Thomas is not playing very well. That's just the way that is. Let's take a look at what else we have going on for the rest of the week. Oh, I did put up my MMA DFS breakdown. And again, the DFS breakdown for the MMA is broken up into 2 different videos. One is just kind of who the best plays are. And the other is we're going to do a full lineup construction video Friday night or Saturday morning where we just try to win the 100K. So that's up. Let's take a look at the rest of the schedule for the week so I can get organized here. So NASCAR, there is Xfinity on Saturday and on Sunday, and the Cup on Sunday, no trucks. Monday, there's no F1 this week. Let's see, esports coming up. So we have 4-game slates the rest of the road because of all the because the LCK is back, and that's obviously very, very good. Soccer's gone. NHL, we just have a couple more games maybe. I have not played any of the showdown in the NHL. NFL might be right around the corner. We'll see about that. MMA, as I mentioned. So Saturday, it's a 7 p.m. start, so that's a long night, just so you guys know. We have golf showdown both days. So we have previewed the rest of the non-baseball stuff, and just in perfect timing.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry. I measured that off absolutely perfectly.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I had to run and do a couple things. So one of those days where I got up at 3 a.m. and golf was like about to start, and I just started like watching it, and then I started waiting for it and then watched it, and then I just ended up all morning. So I haven't slept much, but I'm ready to get into this slate.
So you want to talk about the early slate first?
Yeah, let's talk about the early slate first. Meanwhile, did you end up with any Pavon?
Not a single lineup.
I don't think I do either. And I don't know how I played like 400 lineups without it, but
not a single lineup. And I was just going over it. I have the wrong Molinari. The Eduardo was -2.
That's what I said. Just for fun, I threw Eduardo into a couple in the $5. Anyway.
But Canley, I picked to miss the cut, so I'm really on it today. So we'll
Yeah, Canley's rolling. Yeah, that's right. It's a strange one.
But Aberg with the broken neck and broken back and broken knee doesn't seem to be bothering him too much.
Yeah, that one I did. I did play a ton of. He ended up getting big on him.
And Justin Thomas is styling at +8.
Yeah, of course. And then he's gonna literally he'll shoot 4 under to miss the cut on the number or something tomorrow.
And Morikawa just made a double on a par 3.
Oh,
so
that's disgusting.
We will see. And Henley's just doing his thing though. Henley's being Henley.
Henley's cruising along. That's right. Yeah.
And I unfortunately do not have all the Neil Shipley. So
that kid, I feel like I feel like every time he's been in one of these things, he's always he always does well. Anyway,
Scheffler is coming up soon, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't have any Isaiah Salinda.
Kenny does. He was texting me about this guy.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I was like, I'm telling you, that guy's never making the cut. And of course, he got off to a nice start.
But did he have any Willie Mack III?
I don't think he had that one.
It looks like Koepka was off to a really good start, and he's
down to 1-0. He's
I've been watching that group all day. I've been watching the Thomas, Morikawa, and Koepka group.
Yeah,
it's funny. They all seem to do the same thing each hole that the other one does.
It's weird, how that happens. I feel like when you play golf more than I do, there's got to be something to that. I don't know what it is, but
I don't know. That's with us. When people are not really good. I mean, not pro level, whatever. We always consider kind of like cart golf. It's like bad cart golf. When one guy will spray it to the right, the other guy will spray it to the left.
Right.
So you have to go. You have to go all these different ways.
Right.
So as far as weather goes this morning, I saw the Washington Detroit game was yellow, but not yellow orange or anything like that. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little earlier yesterday when we kind of figured. I sort of figured that that what's his name would be more popular or would look better at least the Cortez, but apparently the weather there is not very conducive to pitching, to say the least.
Yeah, in Kansas City, it's 91 degrees with the 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing out with the monster total, and there's going to be. Look, if the Yankees were owned 95% on a 2-game or an 8-game slate, what are they going to be owned today?
So it looks like the top-rated pitcher is Lynn, and then some maybe Keller Mize or something like that. I would imagine. You like anybody different than those guys, or?
Yeah. So okay. So I'm trying to figure that out because I don't really like anybody, to be honest. I think that my favorite is Keller, but it's not that game's 93 degrees it's great hitting conditions also. I guess I like Lance Lynn because we're supposed to and I don't really know who else to play. Sort of you sort of run out of guys. I mean, Cortez is still in play, and I am not going to play Ronaldo Lopez. I am very interested in the Orioles today. And I really can't figure out who my other guys are going to be. I think I may end up with the Casey Mize as what I do as my main, along with probably with Keller. That's probably where I'm at.
So the name of the day, by the way, at least for my spreadsheet, the name of the day is Justin with a Y, Henry Malloy.
Justin Henry Malloy. What is that?
That exactly. See, now you're acting like me. What is that? You like that?
Well,
right?
I'm a little rattled because I didn't. Usually, I'm here and I'm working on stuff beforehand, but I ended up going somewhere.
You like that? Now you're like me. He's a Detroit Tiger outfielder at 2,700. His name is Justin with a Y, Henry Malloy. That is the full name. That is the name.
I actually know who that guy is now, so I'm kind of embarrassed. But
yeah, that's on the spreadsheet just like that. So you play a Justin Henry Malloy with Ryan Kreidler, and then you're living. That's. I would say that when it comes to playing MME in this slate, that I think I'm going to be getting some Pirates against Lance Lynn. That's
I like that idea.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen because Lynn himself, like you mentioned, you don't like too much of the pitchers, and that's true. Like Lance Lynn rates to be the highest pitcher but only because everybody else is doesn't rate well at all. You know, so in a situation like that, I'm very inclined to make an excuse to go against it. Keller, yeah, I see both sides of that one. So Keller with Pittsburgh, how about that? That's something you could do.
Keller with Pittsburgh is a way. I think that's a very viable route. But I mean, look, I honestly think you could make it in. All of these teams look so stackable. So getting off the chalk, I think is a very reasonable way to go. Basically, any which way, I'm not going to disagree because I think they're all in great spots. I personally, it's interesting that Detroit, they're going to have ownership, but I kind of thought it would be them and the Yankees as the top two, and it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case exactly. And I do want to remind everybody, everybody on who's a part of our site and everything, just remember that Goldie's projections come up every day on the far right. You could literally just drag them right to the front in 2 seconds. I do it every day because his ownership projections are much better, and we're working on getting Jesus thing. That's a whole separate thing on there. But I almost didn't want to say it, but I had to remind
you can get to mine if you just got to work for it. That's all.
I guess, yeah.
You got to go actually to the site and brave your way to the projections page, and then find exactly which ones are mine. And then listen, if it's worth it to you, you'll figure out a way to get there, I guess.
And by the way, I think it should be worth it to you because you guys have seen what Sheets has done this year. I know he won't brag himself, but like it's pretty awesome. Anyway, all right. So
were you referring to the League of Legends thing that I won today?
Oh, did you win one?
I did. I put it up there. It's going to cover like half my golf buy-ins. I'm so excited.
Oh yeah. Nice though.
Yep.
All right, let's see what we got here. So I'm just double checking a few things.
I'm just going to tell you what I did, I guess, for the early slate. So I from process wise, I just put my projections in. I ran it. I ran the contest sims, and even after running contest sims, I'm ending up kind of chalky. I'm getting I'll show you what I have here. I mean, I won't show you what I have, but it looks as though. Why is it not? Hold on. Come on, where are you? Contests. My lineups. Why? This is very odd. We build one.
What do you got?
No, I'm there. I'm there. Relay through. Okay, so I am actually chalky after all that. So I have 40% Yankees, 40% Braves, 30% Kansas City, then St. Louis. So that is where I am getting the most of it, and I'm playing more Cortez. Kind of like going against myself, like never playing Yankee pitchers, and also going against myself. I always hate to attack Kansas City, especially when the weather's so good. But that's what I'm getting, and Keller and Mize. I'm getting a little bit of Corbin, just for fun. So overall, just even sometimes, again, as I like to say, Saber Sim's in a mood, where it just gives you all kinds of like wild stuff. Today, I'm a little more in step. So I'm kind of being a little bit controlled today. So playing kind of the good plays, Yankees, Braves, I suppose, with the better pitchers, and hopefully I get the right combination. That's where I'm getting today.
That makes sense to me, and I think that's I guess to wrap it up. So I'm going to end up with. I guess that my main thing. I'm looking at it now. Detroit's ownership was way higher than when I first looked for some reason. I'm going to be Baltimore focused, and I will probably get to some Braves as well as. I like your Pirates idea, and if I found another pitcher I liked, I would say I could make an argument for the Cardinals, but I just can't find another pitcher I like. So I'm probably going to end up with Keller in most, if not all, my lineups this morning, which won't be that many. All right. So should we, before we get banned from DraftKings, should we talk about the evening slate? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's.
Guys,
okay. I'm not playing any of these, so this is actually kind of weird. Hold on, let me just save something for a second.
Yeah, do your thing. Do your thing.
Why,
for the
why does my actual? I'm glad I did this because I see my actual lineups do not reflect what I said I had. So wait, just give me 1 second. Grand Slam. I'll put this up here. Very glad I did this. I tell you, I had my early build where I had like 90% Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that I just showed everybody because now I can. I had an old. I had an old Excel sheet up here. Look at it over here, and then we'll pull up the main slate, and looks like we're in good shape. Okay, so you want to just go game by game again?
Yeah, let's do game by game for this one. I think probably a good idea. I'm not, let me just make sure there's the weather things for this. I don't think we have anything for this.
I didn't see anything.
I don't think there is.
So again, we looked at this. We looked at this earlier, and well, I'll cut to it. There are 3 pitchers that we identified like 11 hours ago as the best plays, and they're still going to be the best plays 11 hours later, I think. But let's talk about some of these others because I think that if you don't take any of the top 3, you're pivoting. And right off the bat, I mean, you have 2 pivot guys. You have Nola and Houck. Both their matchups are not the best, to say the least. But Nola certainly has upside if he gets it going, and even Houck has a little bit of upside when he gets it going too. So I actually have both these guys projected pretty close. I know a little bit better, but not that much better, I guess. So again, these are not going to be priorities by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're going to get off the more obvious spots, I think that you can get there. As far as the hitting goes, I can't imagine that. Well, Boston looks like actually one of the top 5 values as far as I'm ranking them.
Wow.
So
they're so cheap.
I guess so. So I don't know if I want to do that, but listen, why not? So maybe a little bit of Boston, and then the more lineups you play, the more likely you'll get to these pitchers, obviously.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for some of the Boston thing. I think if I was going to do anything, I would play Philly, and I actually just think like that's just sort of pencil that one in for me. Like anytime I'm not sure exactly who I want to play, and you got Philly in a place like Fenway with 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left on with the short porch and everything. I'm interested a little bit in Philly, even though I respect Houck a lot. I just think that there's some upside for Philly here. So Philly is the only thing I really have interested. I think that I consider Nola. I'm going to consider Nola. I don't know if I'm realistically going to end up there. Probably not. All right. Next up, we've got, I think it's the Mets and Marlins.
The Mets, the amazing Mets, huh? Just putting up all runs. And not to be outdone, they look really, really good today. I have the Mets as second top value so far. Miami, believe it or not, I have third top value so far. So I'm going to go right back for the Miami Mets experience. And now we finally get to play against the old Yankee guy. So I'm not getting to Severino, not getting to Munoz. I do like both of these bats, and I don't know if it's going to be this way later, but it is really freaking hot right now here in New York. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's again, 80 degrees, 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left. I feel like these things matter, and if anybody doesn't think they matter, just look at the scoring in the major leagues over, like how many teams are scoring 10+ runs over the last few weeks compared to like the beginning of the season when literally nobody could get over 5. So I'm in on the. I think the Severino is interesting. And I think that's something I'm definitely considering. The thing that frustrates me is that Miami's actually not like a big strikeout team against righties. Let me just double check that I'm not saying things out of turn here, because I think that's what I've got. I've got it in my notes, and I remember it being that way. Yeah, they strike out. Let's see. They also have less games, so it's kind of tricky to add it up on the thing that I'm using here. Yeah, they really don't strike out very much against righties, but they don't hit either. So Severino, and yeah, if the Mets are going to have ownership, I'm happy to jump right off. Again, they've done a lot of their damage against these lefty starting pitchers, and I actually think that if you're going to get creative on this slate at pitching, I think Munoz is probably one of the best bets to do it. He's going to be super low owned. He's 6,300. It's not this is not an insane like Mets like lineup overall. Yeah, there's a little bit of power there. They don't strike out a ton. They're sort of like, a little worse than average. But I just considered it because it's a way to get different on a small slate. So I'm considering Munoz, and I think that I think both these pitchers are probably where I end up, just because the Mets might end up being a little too popular for me. Although, you know what, not quite as popular as I thought. So yeah, but as of right now, still think we have some better stacks to get to than these guys. All right.
Yeah. So here's one of the three. Joe Ryan, 9,500 against Oakland. You're going to get these, and we talked about this during the live sweat last night. But I mean, whenever you have anybody that's decent against Oakland White Sox, or who is it, or Colorado, or maybe sometimes even Detroit, but more of those other teams, you're going to get like a good projection, and when you have a guy that's decent against Seattle, you're going to get a good projection also. And when the guy's actually good against these teams, you're going to get a great projection. And Joe Ryan, I mean, great, whatever, but he's good. And some results to the contrary, usually, as I mentioned last night, tends to correlate really well, his low results, to when Eric Sheetshaber plays him. So we have to look into the analytics on that one. But he certainly looks like if the top option, at least to me, at least for my initial runs. And the freaking Minnesota Vikings, so to speak, yesterday put up a 17 spot, like it was their job. You got 2 touchdowns and a field goal at the end, and unfortunately, they're showing up as play again today, and that would be really, really annoying to my faculties if I played a team coming off of 17 runs. But they happen to show up as good values today, so I may as well throw them in there. So Minnesota and Ryan.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're getting pricey because they've started hitting, but like Royce Lewis is 6K, by the way. Whoa, what world? I mean, I actually think Royce Lewis is really good, and I've been saying he's going to be for a while, but I didn't realize he was going to. And I realized we're talking 6K range for Royce Lewis, and there's a very wide expectation on where their ownership will be. So I'm not really sure where it ends up, because SaberSim's got it super low. I think it's because of the pricing, and Goldie's got it sort of in between. I just think I'm curious to see. This is one I want to make a decision on later, because I do like Minnesota. They are a team that I would feel comfortable full of stacking here, and I just want to find out the rest of it. I'm going to play Joe Ryan, probably in my biggest buy-in. And if you wanted to get a little frisky, I don't think I would want to take like a stack against him, but you could always pick a one-off. You could against him if you wanted to, but I think it's probably mostly just and I'm talking a little different today because it's a small slate, so I really do want to treat it differently. But I still think I'm going to stick with Ryan and some Minnesota pieces at least. Okay. Then we got LA and Arizona, this series that I feel like the series has been going on for months, but it's really only been 2 games. It
sort of keeps delivering, only one side yesterday delivered, but I think the other side is going to get their shot today. So talked about Griffin Canning last night a little bit on the live sweat. I said, oh my God, Griffin Canning's actually 5K, and you made the very accurate point that, and it's probably accurate. He's been delivering like a 5K pitcher, and Arizona, they have some guys that can smack the ball around, and I don't know about the roof, whatever, but right now I have them, after running my Sims and whatever, as my top owned stack. So yeah, that's that. And I'm currently not getting. I'm about maybe 10% Angels, just because they always are kind of in there. But I'm not getting to any of the pitching here.
Yeah, I can't figure out what to do with this one, because look. If I was playing the lottery things, I actually probably would take a shot on Canning today. I think it makes enough sense. You're playing a team you haven't faced before. He's been a little better, which is not saying a whole lot, but a little better than he was to start the season. And he's 5K, and it's a way to differentiate on a small slate. That's the main reason. I don't love stacking against Fott. Depends on the teams, really. In general, I don't go after that. He's just like efficient enough, but he's been giving up a lot of home runs. I think that you can make a case for maybe some low-owned Angels here. And I think Arizona is going to be very chalky for good reason. I like Minnesota better, but I like Arizona too. And I think that the Angels would be an interesting get weird stack. So I think there's a lot of things to be open to in this game. And I also think that you could argue for Fott. I just don't think I'm going to end up getting to it. I think I'd rather, play Severino, or I'd rather play spend down or spend up instead of playing him. So a little bit of Angels for me, a little bit of Arizona, but probably not as a stack just because they're going to be so popular, and Canning as a get weird play in the lottery.
I would like to also say, by the way, relative to the golf. So for those that were watching the stream or whatever it is, one thing that I forgot to mention is that Colin Morikawa chips in from the bunker like that.
Nice.
Is that I post up two things at the end as the slate begins, and one is the comparison of my ownership versus the actual ownership in the lottery, and the other thing is the difference between the actual ownership in the lottery versus the actual ownership in the bigger buy-in. And we went through this last night, and if Bobby is, if this DFS playing doesn't work out, the ownership projection game might be in his best interest, because the two spots that we thought of that the industry might have had it wrong was one, Bobby could not believe that that Rory would end up being 20%, and he was correct. Nobody played him. And the other was Cam Smith. Across the board, he was like 6-7% owned, and he ended up 13. He didn't get the love in the big buy-in that we kind of were thinking about, but nonetheless, like, those are the two that kind of stood out to Bobby just on the eyeball test, and those were two of the top 10 misses. Now, I also say, by the way, that not to toot my horn or whatever, the whole thing, but the ownership projections this week, pretty much throughout the industry, but also for us, was really, really tight. I mean, very sharp. I mean, very, very, very few discrepancies. To the point where those are the two that really only stood out.
Yeah, those two were absolutely massive, though, too, because they were double. It was literally double the amount.
Yeah, that's true.
And we did also know that Morikawa would be more owned than he was being projected. I think everybody knew that one.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway,
okay. What do we got? Just one more or two more games? We have
Seattle, and
two more games. So this is the other spot that I mentioned. I kept forgetting that this was going to be two of them, but I kept forgetting that the Crochet was going to look good. I have this bias that, like, Seattle, they don't lose, right? I mean, they do, but they're like in first place, and yet every pitcher is like chalk against them.
Well, they just have the best. They might have the best pitching staff in baseball.
Right. That's true too, and because they also strike out, a decent amount.
Yeah.
Crochet 9,400 and Castillo from this game. I between you and me, I think the salary should be flip flopped. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that Castillo projecting the same as Crochet, I'm not down with that analysis. You know what I mean? Like, I still think, I know Crochet's, shiny young toy, whatever it is, whatever you want to call him this year, but Castillo at 8,500 against Chicago, I'll go heads up with Crochet. I don't know what to say. They're both going to be owned. I think Castillo's going to be owned more. I have Castillo at 45%, Crochet 35%, because you save the 900 with Castillo. Listen, these two with Ryan comprise almost my whole pitching pool. I would say right now I have 95% of those three guys combined. So splitting hairs there is whatever. It's going to be those, one with two with three, and one with three in like most lineups, and they're all pretty reasonably priced. So I like both them. You want to try to get kooky and stack against them, feel free. I think that Seattle is the better way to try that than Chicago.
You really have something against this Crochet, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why. This guy might be like one of the best pitchers in baseball.
It's not just that. I mean, he's a lefty against Seattle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I if I'm going to pick one of ththese guys to go after between Ryan, Castillo, and Crochet, it's going to be Crochet.
Okay. I think Crochet is the best play on the slate, and I'm probably going to say that every time he pitches, pretty much. This is a better DFS pitcher even, because he's expected to have significantly the most strikeouts on the slate. I guess not significantly, a little bit ahead of Ryan. He's projected like more than a full strikeout better than Castillo. Maybe there's some variance in there. I don't really know. Like he can occasionally get like a little bit wild, and maybe that can hurt him. He's really he's had two bad starts this season and basically just been a lock for like 25 to 30 otherwise. I love Crochet. I wish there was a way to get him at lower ownership than we will be today. And I have him ahead of Castillo. I actually do like the White Sox better than Seattle if I had to pick a side, but I think that both are viable just because of the nature of a small slate. And I think that you will have no ownership on a very cheap White Sox. So maybe you don't stack them, but maybe you mini stack them. Maybe you play a one-off of Gavin Sheets or Andrew Vaughn or, I don't know, Paul DeYoung, Luis Robert, I should say. They're going to be unowned. And so I've always felt like with Castillo for a while now that I thought he was going to be, I think he's a very good pitcher that's not elite. He's also not he's a very inconsistent fantasy pitcher. And I don't know. So I'm probably going to be on the outside looking in with Castillo and probably playing some White Sox as a way of getting a little bit different today.
Yeah, in the big buy-in, I'm going to have a tough time, honestly, picking which two of those three. It is going to be somewhat difficult. I don't think I'm going to go with anybody else in my big buy-in, except for those three. And the thing is, I don't think you're going to go wrong either way because I think all three of them are going to be kind of efficiently owned. You know what I mean? Like if one guy's a little bit better player, they'll end up being owned more. So I think that the majority of your effort should be spent in trying to figure out what hitting because I think I really think that whichever two you pick from there, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, I think, and I just would say that if that's gonna be the decider, give me the guy with the 15 strikeout upside instead of the guy.
No, absolutely. I think that makes sense. I guess.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think all three of these guys have pretty.
And by the way, the flip side is, if I was playing cash, I would be playing. I would definitely be playing what's his name over Crochet and cash, just because you don't necessarily need to see him.
Castillo.
Yeah. And I think he's probably got a little bit more safety, as you mentioned.
More win upside, I guess. Too.
Yeah, and he's pitching at home, and he's great at home, all this stuff.
What about this last one? So Texas and LA. In my initial runs, I didn't get too much of the Dodgers, and that's always kind of concerning to me because you always got to play these guys. You always have 10-run upside every game. The Dodger side, you have kind of a bullpen game. The Grove Yarbrough combination. Oh, okay. Needless to say, you don't want to play either of those two guys at those prices. And I don't think Texas can get to the bullpen thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm probably off of this, but if I get to some Dodgers, right now I'm actually getting 6% Texas and 6% Dodgers, which calculates to 3 lineups each over 50 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's I guess that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm deciding what I want to do here because I guess I have to give Lorenzen more credit. He's been better than I thought he would be. Whatever. He's not a great DFS, not a guy ever playing for DFS, but just in general has not been quite as bad. He gets a little wild though. I mean, look, this game is significantly worse hitting than basically conditions, other than the Diamondbacks and the Mariners, which are in a dome. But you get the Oakland game, the Twins game with 84 degrees with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. Boston, it's 80 degrees in the Great Hitters Park and 15-mile-an-hour winds, whatever. The Dodgers don't have that. It's 66 degrees. We've been covered in clouds for the last months here, and for some reason we cannot get a California summer. But I guess for those of you who have lived here, June gloom is a real thing. I think this is a spot where I do like the Dodgers. I think they end up a little bit more popular. And I think that maybe another way to get different would be, what about playing Texas in a bullpen game? It's a bullpen game for a bullpen that hasn't been all that strong. I've never been particularly in love with Yarbrough. I think he's fine. He's nothing else. He's just fine. He's a stopgap pitcher. You're going to get no ownership on Texas. I think that's a pretty interesting way to go. So maybe not even maybe a mini stack, maybe a full stack. I think Texas sort of fits the White Sox category for me. So I do think Crochet, Ryan, and Castillo are kind of stand out above the rest. But I'm considering maybe spending down if I want to do something a little bit different. I like Minnesota and the Angels of them as full stacks, and the Dodgers as I'm deciding, and I'm probably going to get pieces of the White Sox and Texas are probably my two favorites to get a little funky with. And that's if I can talk myself into it and just ignore Tanner Houck being like a dominant, awesome pitcher for the last 4 months, I would consider, just because of Philly's talent level, maybe doing that. attacking the bullpen that I don't think is all that special in Boston, for what it's worth. So
the late golfers haven't teed off yet. The late golfers haven't teed off yet.
yeah,
But I will just say, just to tout myself here, that I played 150 lineups in the lottery. Patrick Cantlay and Mateo Pavone are tied for first by themselves. I have one lineup with Cantlay and one with Pavone.
you have one lineup with Cantlay and one with
Pavone
Pavone.
out of 150.
Let me see what I've got here. Let me just take a quick look, because I know I've got more than that, but it's not that much more, I don't think.
The Cantlay-Pavone combination was just what we talked about on the secret live stream.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so there's Cantlay. I've only got 4 lineups with him, and Pavone 2.
Okay.
So that's
but
not
as the Beatles would say, all you need is one.
Yeah. Yeah, man. My lines were looking a lot better a little while earlier, but it's a long ways to go.
Let's see what this afternoon does. You know, you get Scheffler and Xander among others, right?
Yeah. Scheffler, Xander. I actually, because of my beliefs, I ended up getting like a little bit above the field on Rory, just because I thought he'd be low owned. I still don't logically. There's no explanation for why we would ever play him and why at 12-1 with the guys around him, but that was enough for me to talk myself into it and playing more of him than Xander, just because there's a lot of recency bias going on in that one, even though I understand why there's recency bias for Xander. All right.
Sahith Theegala with a crisp +6.
But he improved. I have way too much Sahith Theegala, as does the field. And he was 7 over a minute ago, I think. He started off like 6 over, like through 5 or 6.
I think this is gonna be a pretty healthy cut. I think this is gonna be like, it's hard to say.
Think +5.
I wasn't going to say that bad, but I was going to say like a +3 or something like that. But
I think +3 is the favorite right now. +5
is that right? I haven't looked yet.
If I could get it, those sheets, I'm telling you, this is what I want to bet on. This is my favorite thing to bet on. Like, what odds could I get on the +5 right now? Because it's only, the percentage is probably like 2%. If I can really get like 50 to 1. I mean, if I could get 20 to 1, I would take it.
Yeah, I'm seeing +3. I'm looking at the site now. +3 is 34%, +4 30%. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's get to +5, then it could be a train wreck.
Yeah.
But if it gets to +5, then it's those weird situations where you'd almost like rather not have all your 6 guys playing because you just lose points every day. That's
exactly. I mean, that's the way this tournament rolls, kind of. They're tough. It's the only sport. It's the only one where the players' innings remaining are usually are always terrifying at every major, because you don't really know, you don't know if you want holes remaining or not.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So, all right, man. Well, have a good day, and we'll see. You're going to be around at 6, right?
Yep. Sounds good.
We'll do a little touch up on that, and hopefully talk a little bit about a better golf afternoon.
Sounds good.
Good.